Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around we're going to be cracking open the box on the Transformers Masterpiece MP56 Trailbreaker. So I picked this guy up from tfsource.com, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get that bubble wrap off of him, take a quick look at that box, and then dig in and see what came with him. Alright, so there is that box, and you're seeing it for the first time along with me. So let's take a look and see what we've got here. You've got MP56, Trailbreaker, Transformers down here, Long Life Design, Takara Tomy. Over here on this side you have Trailbreaker. Up on the top you have Trailbreaker. On this side you have Trailbreaker in his alt mode. On the bottom you have all of that if you care to or have the ability to read it. And on the back you have all those product shots. So yeah, this is a really cool box. Down here it shows everything that should come in the box. We're about to find out. Alright, let's go ahead and get this guy opened up and see, after a quick camera adjustment, we'll see if he really did come with all of that. And here he is out of the box, still in his clamshell packaging. So let's take a look and see what we've got here. Get this first. Take a look here. Looks like we have, oh nice, we've got some stickers. Got a bio card in there, and then of course you have the instructions. And then lifting up that clamshell, yep, he came with everything. Came with some pretty cool stuff there. Looks like he's got an extra fist. Got his other hand thing. He got his radar dish, alternative grill, a couple of faces, and a sweet, sweet blast effect. And he looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and open this guy up and see how he looks. Now there's some tape on there, so let me take that off real quick. Alright, now we've got that tape off there, and we can start. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that came inside that package. There's quite a bit of stuff, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start over here on the left-hand side. This is your instruction booklet, but it's also filled with all kinds of handy information. So I do want to show this to you real quick. If you just unfold it right here, check this out. You have all of your specs in bot mode right there. And then right over here, you have the tech specs for the vehicle mode, the Toyota Hilux mode. I'm trying to keep the glare off of it there. So there you go. I think that's really cool. A nice little addition that they put in those instructions just to give you a little bit more information. So very cool. All right, moving on over here to the right-hand side, you do get some stickers with them. I believe these are for the windows. I'm not going to be putting these stickers on. They're going to be kept in the box. But I believe they are for the windows in the truck mode. And then you've got some Autobot stickers there as well that you can use. All right, over here you have his bio cards. Let's go ahead and take a look at that artwork first because it's pretty darn cool. I'm liking what they're doing here. And over here on the back side, if you care to read that, if you have the ability to read that, feel free to go ahead. It shows bot mode and the alt mode and your tech specs down there as well. All right, so that leaves you with all the stuff down here. So let's go ahead and start first just with that blast effect. We saw this just a few moments ago, so I'm going to be very brief on most of this stuff here. So there's your blast effect, kind of translucent. You've got a little peg there on the end that you can use on your nozzles or on the his weapons up here, his force shield generator and his missile launcher or over-the-shoulder gun, whatever you want to call it. And then you do get a couple of grills. Notice I don't have a grill on him right now. I just wanted to display both of these so I could kind of go a side-by-side on these grills. So over here, this one is the Toyota Hilux vehicle accurate grill if you want. And then this one is the cartoon style grill. So you can see what they're doing there. So pretty cool. Easy on, easy off. Nothing to it. So yeah, really cool that he comes with two different grills there. Try to get my fingers out of the way so you can see both of those like that. All right, and next up, let's take a look at his main nozzle. So this thing isn't really amazing, but it's a nozzle. I also have to say I'm not really a big fan of what's going on here between this nozzle and the multi-head nozzle, which we'll show in a moment, with the chrome plating. So you can see right here, it looks like maybe that was the sprue or the point for the injection molding or something. I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't look like it was damaged. It looks like it was done intentionally, and you've got one over here to match. So not real happy with that. It definitely takes away from the look. It's not the worst thing ever, but I'm not the happiest about it. But yeah, other than that, it looks pretty cool. And like I said, you can just take your effect and plug your effect in, and then you've got that going on, which is kind of neat. And then it expands and contracts a little bit, so you have a small range of motion there, depending on how you want to have it look. And it needs to be retracted in if you're going to keep this on him when you transform him into the vehicle mode. All right, next up is the multi-head nozzle. So this thing on the surface looks really cool. I like the sculpt work and what they've done here, but I have a similar situation, so I do have some issues with the chrome plating. So right there on the tip, and then where'd it go? Right there, and then right over here. So I'm not the happiest about that. Just little imperfections, or I don't know what you want to call them. So I've got a couple spots on the ends there that I'm not real happy about. Same thing. Blast effect goes on, so you can do that. All right. And next up, let's take a look at that radar dish. Looks pretty cool. I like it. Parabolic antenna, whatever you want to call it. It could, I guess, double as either one. So nothing moves on it. It's just painted. This is not soft rubber right there. This part is not. But it looks pretty good. It doesn't do anything, I guess. Yeah, you're not going to put an effect on that either. So that is what it is. It's not bad. It looks cool in vehicle mode. And then you've got the heads. So let's go ahead and bring the heads in. So you have, first up, Stoic head. So this is the head that was on him when he came out of the box. I went ahead and took that one off, and I put Smiley head on it, which we'll see when we get to his details. And then you've got Angry Shouting head. So there you go. The face removal and replacement is super easy. They literally just pull off, and then you push a new one on, and it's just a press fit, just enough friction there to hold it on. So yeah, does the job. Looks kind of cool. I like it. All right, so that's everything that came in the box except for Trailbreaker himself. So let's go ahead and bring him in and take a look at his details. Here he is, the bot we've all been waiting to see. This is the MP56 Trailbreaker. So let's go ahead and take a look at this guy. We'll just start right up here at the top. Normally I'll start with the head, but I'm actually going to start back here with the weapons. So you can take a look there and see pretty decent amounts of chrome plating on those. Looks pretty good, and like I stated earlier, you can plug the blast effects in either one of these. So it would have been nice if they could have continued the chrome plating right through here, or maybe made this a different color other than just gray, boring molded plastic, but it still doesn't look all that bad. And coming over here to the head, so we saw the other two heads or other two faces already. So this is kind of a Happy Trailbreaker face, and I think it accurately captures the bot pretty well. Get that head on all the way. What are you doing? There we go. So there he is from the side, from the back, from the front. And I think it's a pretty decent capture. Now, moving on down to the chest. He's definitely got that Trailbreaker hoist beer gut kind of thing going on. Nice Autobot symbol right there. One thing that I will note is the color. He is not just a dark jet black. He does kind of match the cartoon as far as the light black, dark gray that they kind of used. So I appreciate that. And one of the things that we're going to see here shortly when we get into comparisons is I'm going to bring out the War for Cybertron Trailbreaker and the Fans Toys Outrider, both of which are much darker than this Trailbreaker here, which I think really accurately captures those cartoon colors. So coming on down, looking at that chest. Now I do have the grill off right now. We'll see the details here in vehicle mode too, but you can see that attention to detail right there. It looks like you've got a bit of a radiator or a subtype of a mesh right there where the grills would go. I think he kind of looks good without a grill as well. Coming on down, so you've got that crotch area. Not a whole lot to talk about here. There's not a lot of detail. And those legs, you've got a little bit of detail there, but kind of that cartoon accuracy look. Just not a whole lot of sculpt work happening here. He's not monolithic by any means, but there's nothing too exciting. And then on the insides, you can see everything comes together pretty well. You don't have any hollow areas, as you would expect to not have on a masterpiece figure. Coming on down to those feet. Pretty generic. They're not bad. When I say generic, I don't mean it in a bad way. There's just not a whole lot going on. It's just not very busy. And coming on up to the side of the leg, comes together pretty well. Now, the one thing that I will say is if you look at him from the side, you can see through this guy a little bit. So the Fans Toys Outrider, you cannot see through like this. So I would have liked to have seen something where they could have had some panels here, something that would have filled this in a little bit better. But as it stands right now, it's not awful at all. Just something I would have liked to have seen done differently. And coming over here to those shoulders, you got some pretty decent sculpt work right there in the connector area, and then you've got that pylon right there. Coming on down, everything looks pretty good. Now, you'll notice that he does have a left hand. I showed you the nozzle when I was talking about everything that came in the box. This was actually separate in the box. It did not come attached to him, but we'll go over that attachment. It looks like I've got his panel a little bit loose right now. Well, shucky darns, I don't even have his hand on. Look at that. We're going to talk about this. Let's talk about it right now, as a matter of fact. Just get it out of the way. So you have this little assembly right here. This allows you to put all your stuff on and off, and you've got these little slots right there, and they correspond to those little slots in there. So you're just going to line all this up, and you're going to slide that hand on. Give that a nice press. I guess I didn't press it very hard when I put this hand on, and then you close it up. And hey, there we are. That looks a lot better. So it's pretty easy to change things out. So you can, kind of diverting from the details, but either one of these hands comes off the same way. You could give him a single nozzle here, multi-head nozzle over here, swipe them around, one hand, one nozzle, however you want to do it. So there's a lot of variety and a lot of playability here. So anyway, just a real quick note on that. But yeah, so there's those arms. There's the inside of the arms. Not a whole lot to talk about. And then you get down to those hands, which we already saw the details on. So you have one finger that moves separately from the other three, and then this thumb is just on that single joint right there, but it looks pretty good inside of the hand. And then coming around to the back, he cleans up really well. I mean, this is a nice clean Trailbreaker from the back, and although it can be a bit of a pain in transformation, the transformation itself is not difficult. It's just the act of the fiddly little things back here, because if you notice from this side view, he's not just straight up and down right here. He's got kind of a bump out. So that bump out is something that is easy to miss in transformation if you're not careful. So a little bit fiddly back there, but I think it serves him well. He's just got that rotund kind of look to him. He just looks happy and jolly. So yeah, I think he captures the essence of that cartoon Trailbreaker. I'm really happy with the way this figure looks. And I asked my family, my wife and my kids both, between Fans Toys Outrider and Trailbreaker, without telling them which was which, because they don't really follow Transformers like I do. They all unanimously agreed that they think he actually looks a little bit better than Outrider. I don't know if I'm totally buying into that, but that was a consensus out of 3 people that I surveyed, so it must be right. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to articulation. And we'll go ahead and we'll start up here at the top. Just like with the details, I'm not going to start with the head. I'm actually going to start back here with the over-the-shoulder backpack weapons. So you've got 2 points of articulation right here. So you can swing back that far. You can swing forward that far. Down here, this one, you can swing back that far and forward that far, or further if you get it out of the way. So you can take it to that extreme if you want. You can bring it back like that if you want. You can have it resting back there. Same thing over here. So you've just got all that same range of motion right over here for this one as well. All right, coming to that head, it's a traditional style Masterpiece head. You're not going to get any head tilt. You're going to get just a little bit of up. That's maximum up right there, and then a little bit of down, and then you can go all the way around with that head. Coming over here to the shoulders, you do get a butterfly joint right there, so you can bring that forward and back a little bit. So there's your range of motion there. And then you have the ability to bring that shoulder up that far before he starts running into himself. Just be careful when you do it, because if you have it angled back, then you're only going to come up that far. So just be aware of your surroundings. Full 360 on that shoulder all the way around. And then you do have bicep rotation right there. You have well over 90 degrees on a single joint for that elbow right there. And then we pretty much covered everything with the hands earlier. So you've got out, you've got in, you've got the fingers. Well, you've got the thumb on that single joint that can go in that far, out that far. And then you have your one finger all by its lonesome, and then the other 3. So you've got a joint there, you've got a joint there, so you can do that if you want to. You can get that finger. You can bring them back that far, and look at that, he made you look. So you can do that with hands. All right, coming on down, you've got waist rotation. You have basically limitless here. You can go all the way around if you want to, and then you do have an ab crunch. So you've got a few degrees where you can bring that down. Coming on down to those hips, you can bring those hips out. Almost a full split, not quite, but you can get pretty close. And then kicking forward, really, really good range of motion going forward. Not quite as much going backward, but we're going to show that now. So kicking backward, you're only going to get that much before he just starts running into everything here. So limited on that back kick, you're going to run in right there as well. So, you know, theoretically you could maneuver around that a little bit, maybe, but you're not going to get a whole lot. And then you do have thigh rotation, so you can go out, you can go in, and, you know, again, if you're careful, you could probably just keep going all the way around if you want to. You have points of rotation right here, primarily for transformation, but these also help with your posability, so you can turn those around. You've got full 360 on these. Coming on down to the knees, nice deep knee bend on a single joint, and then you've got that filler plastic right there, so you're not looking at a hollow area, so that's nice. Coming on down to the feet, you can bring those feet down that far. You can bring the feet up that far. You have deep, deep ankle tilt. And then you do have a couple of other things that you can do down here. You've got this little piece back here if you want to angle that. Now this is for your truck part that comes out to become that heel spur, but you can use that if you need to. And then down here you can angle your toe as well if you want to do that. So if you wanted something like, I don't know, like that, you could get away with it. All right, so articulation is pretty good. I guess the head and the hips are your two big limiter there. I would have really liked to have been able to tilt that head up a little bit, like he was looking into the sky a little bit more. And I would have liked to have had more of a back kick on this guy than what he has. But everything else works pretty good. Wish list items would have been individually articulated fingers. Not a game changer, really. Just would have been nice to have had those. So yeah, I mean, articulation is done pretty well. Details look great on this guy. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and we'll jump into the accessories and kind of show some of the different things that you can do with him. So in regards to those accessories, we're going to go ahead and just start up here with the head or the face, just to show you how you can change those faces out. So you do have his kind of sort of smiley face, and then you've got stoic face that he came with, and you have, if I can grab it, one underneath my camera's mount, then you have screamy face right there. So all you want to do if you want to throw screamy face on him is you just want to pull him and do the classic give me your face Optimus Prime line. Just pulls right off, and you're left with that. And if you want to do that, that's totally fine too, because hey, why not? But anyway, then you just take, oh man, it's twice it's gotten away from me. Screamy face just does not want to cooperate. So then you just take screamy face, and you can see you're just going to slide that right on. Take screamy face, throw it on, give it a press. Dun, 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 dun. Now he's all screamy Trailbreaker, and you are good to go. All right, so moving on down to the other accessories, we're just going to throw a couple of nozzles on this guy because, hey, why not? So you can take your single nozzle, which out of the box comes on his left arm. So you can just come over here. You're going to lift this panel. And in theory, this hand is supposed to stay with the bottom piece, but I've found that it does not. It likes to just stay on that tab right there. So whatever, just be careful when you open the panel up. So let's try that again and pretend. Oh, you bring that down. Now you take that hand off. Dun, dun, dun. Look at that. It's like magic. Then you take your nozzle, and the nozzle goes on just like the hand did. You're going to slide that on, and then you're going to bring this up. Then you're going to close it, and wow, look at that. You got a nozzle in his hand. And now he's screamy Trailbreaker shooting his nozzle. All right, you can do the same thing over here. So bring that hand down. I guess instead of pulling at the panel, if you just bring down at the hand and then pull the hand off, now you can put the multi-head nozzle on there. And slide that on. And bring that up and give everything a nice squeeze. And it's not quite lined up. Get on there and line up. There we go. And now he's got two nozzles and he's rip raring to go. Unfortunately, you only have one blast effect, so take your choice, because you can, let's do the blast effect parade here. So you can blast effect over here, and that looks cool. Nice. You can blast effect up here. Excellent. You can blast effect over here. Outstanding. And finally, you can blast effect over here. And stupendous. So I think I covered more than a few adjectives there to show how that blast effect works. But yeah, so, you know, nozzle him up, blast effect him up, have a good time. Who needs hands, you know? You don't need hands when you've got nozzles, I guess. And then throw different heads on him. Whatever you want to do. Nothing you can do in bot mode with this. And then, of course, you know, he has his grills, which are not on him right now. But if you want, you can just throw a grill on. We'll go over this again in vehicle mode. But you just take the grill. And you're going to plug the grill in. And, yeah, look at that. He's Trailbreaker with a grill now. So, does not make much of a difference in bot mode. But yeah, the accessories are really cool. I love the variety of what you can do. You can swap these nozzles around. You can put his left hand on his right arm, his right hand on his left arm, and make him look really weird. That's totally up to you. Whatever you want to do on that. So, have fun. All right, now that we've talked about the accessories, we are going to get into the transformation here, and we're going to take him into his Toyota Hilux pickup truck mode. Not a difficult transformation at all. There's just a few fiddly points, but let's go ahead and dive right into that. One thing worth noting really quick before we dive into that transformation, you cannot have this multi-nozzle on either arm for transformation, because the whole idea here is, I'll show you real quick, is the nozzle, if you leave this nozzle on, that's totally fine because it has the ability to collapse, and then you fold it in underneath. So you've got room under there to just fold that nozzle out of the way and then close that up. You cannot do that over here. Obviously, it's way too big. So don't even try, okay? So now, let's go ahead and get into that transformation. Before we begin transformation on Trailbreaker here, I just want to point out a couple of things. It's not really a hard transformation as far as the number of steps, but it is really fiddly, for lack of a better term. And if you do your prep work ahead of time and you know what's coming in the following steps, it's kind of like chess. If you make good moves early, the transformation is going to go a lot smoother. That being said, I'm giving you a disclaimer. This right here, this is going to be a pain in the butt. It has been every single time. It's just something that I struggle with. Hopefully I won't struggle with it too much during this transformation, but I'm going to share that pain with you because I'm sure some of you are going to experience that as you transform this guy. All that being said, let's go ahead and get started. And what we're going to do is we're going to start over here with the nozzle. So I'm going to straighten the arm out. The reason that I'm doing that is because the clearance you have in this forearm, when you fold this in, there's not a lot of it. So if you have his arm bent, you're not going to get the nozzle to sit in there all the way properly. So I'm going to straighten that arm out, and then I'm just going to push down on this, try to open that up, and hopefully my nozzle will come with the bottom piece. And if it doesn't, I'll just put the bottom piece back on. So it didn't come with the bottom piece. It just stayed up there, and I'm just going to slide it onto that bottom piece right there, just like that. Swing it in, make sure you have the nozzle collapsed, swing it all the way in, and then close that up. Same thing, well, yeah, let's go ahead and go over here to the fist. So same thing with this fist over here. I'm going to push down. Yay, the fist stayed with it. So I'm going to swing the fist in, and my fist fell off. It's just part of the deal with this guy. So swing the fist in, and then collapse that. You'll notice I did not have to straighten the arm on this side. You've got enough clearance for the fist, so it's up to you if you want to straighten it or if you don't. Ultimately, you're going to have to anyway. So you've got those folded in. Now you're going to take your arms, you're going to rotate them 180 degrees right there at that bicep, and then you're going to push in and collapse that. Do the same thing over here, 180, and give it a push and collapse. So you've got the arms about as ready as they're going to get. Now we're going to come up here to his little force field generator. We're going to rotate that so it's sitting at 90 degrees, sitting vertical instead of horizontal. Then we're going to come over here to this. Yet another reason I don't like this thing, you'll notice that there is a split in it. This is designed because this comes in half, as I'll show you now, and it's such a tight split that more often than not it sticks under my fingernail, but this time I got lucky. So you're going to split that so it's sitting like that. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and move these out of the way. These are going to keep getting in your way, just part of the deal. So I'm going to come down here now And I'll just raise those arms up out of the way. I'm just going to pull on this backpack, give it a gentle pull right here. That's going to release it right there. And then once you've gotten that, come back here and give these a pull right here on this back window. And then that's going to release that back window. And that's going to loosen a bunch of stuff up back here. Give this a pull. So you had these tabs sitting in those slots right there. Once you give that a pull, that releases the rest of this. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, it's not necessarily something that you have to do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stiffen this up. Otherwise, these things are just going to keep flopping all over the place and get on my nerves. So I'm going to take these pieces right here. I'm going to fold these up. So these fold up in on the inside right there. And then I'm going to fold this piece out. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Fold this up. And I'm going to fold that piece out. There's your tail lights. And now you have these slots right there. And then you have these tabs right here. They're going to line up. So you'll notice in here you have sliders. So they slide in, they slide out, depending on the orientation. If it's going to be the truck, they're in. If it's the backpack, they're out. Okay? So, sorry, I was pointing at the wrong thing. These are the tabs right up here. And then you're going to bring this down. You're going to line those up. You're going to push those in. Do the same thing on the other side over here. And now instead of having a floppy mess back here, now I've got something that's a little more stiff, something that's not going to keep getting in my way. And you've created the back of the truck, essentially. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a gentle push right here. That's going to pop the head for me. So I'm just going to stick my thumb in there, give that a gentle push. That pops the head up. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take that head, you're going to move that head 180 degrees. So it should be sitting like that. You're going to feed it back through that hole in the roof. And then you're going to collapse this up. Make sure that your head is sitting nicely. And give that a push. And then you should have something that looks like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to separate this joint right here. That's going to separate that body. And then when I do that, you'll notice there's a slider right down here. So now I'm going to, if it hasn't already done it, so when you open it up, it may slide up forward on you. So that's going to slide that forward. And then when it does, it's going to give you that clearance that you need for your windshield. And then your windshield is going to be oriented correctly right there. All right, so now what we're going to do is take this back piece, move that out of our way a little bit more. We're going to need to take this and this thing over here. We're going to need to tuck them away and put them on the insides right here. So for this one, you have a hinge. It's going to allow you to turn that at a 90-degree angle so you can clear these arms. So you're going to swing that up, and then you're going to collapse that back up. I make sure, once I bring this forward, I make sure that I give that a nice push. So that way I am as straight as possible. And then you're going to swing that in and just get it approximately right there. Do the same thing over here with this. Swing this in and get it. Sorry if I'm doing this off frame. And get it about right there, just so you've got these out of your way. Now, what I've discovered during the course of transforming this a few times, you're going to tuck these arms away, and when you tuck these arms away, you want this sitting as flush as possible with those arms. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So let's go ahead and get these arms. You're going to take your arms, and let's see if I can give you a better angle on this. Yeah, push this back a little bit. Okay. So you're going to want to take these arms and you're going to bring these arms in like this. And they're going to sit like that for you. You want to make sure that you see the screws. All right, so bring those in and you're going to do that. Now, if you look right here at the side, you'll notice that you've got this little piece right here, this little window. This is going to try to collapse in on you when you do the next steps, but you're sitting on a double hinge right here. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to take this assembly and you're going to bring that down. And you see what I mean? This little window is going to try to collapse in on you. Don't let it collapse in on you. It still may get away with it on me. It's a little sneaky that way. But you get it in approximately that position and you're getting closer to how you need to orient this thing. So you'll notice that my little force shield generator got tucked away behind the arms. So just bring that, get your finger in there, bring that up. You're going to want to put it about right there. And now this piece right here, you've got like zero room for error on this piece, the shoulder mounted gun right here, because when you bring this down, you want to make sure that this thing is sitting flush, and make sure that you can get your arms all the way in there. So you want to make sure that this thing is sitting flush with the arms, and right now it's not. It's sticking out. So this is what I'm talking about, it being a little bit of a pain in the butt. So this may take a lot of adjustment, where you're going to have to take these apart, move this around, you know, make minor adjustments to it, up and down and over, and because this is your homework. If you don't get this thing right, where it's sitting correctly, then your legs aren't going to sit in there properly, and you're going to have a gap. And I'll show you here in a minute. Let me put this cab piece back on. So it looks good right there, but what I'm going to do before I go any further is I'm going to swing it around. I'm going to make sure I have just the most minor of a gap right here, but that tells me that I'm sitting about as good as I'm going to sit with that gun. So I'm in pretty good shape right there. So you want to make sure that you're about as good as you can get with these items sitting like that. So that way you give yourself all the room that you can. This arm's not pushed all the way in, or not collapsed all the way in, so now I'm going to undo everything I've done to collapse my arm all the way in and get it back in there. There we go. Alright, so make sure you've got everything nice and compacted in like that. Double check your gaps. So I've got just the most minor of a gap there, which is no worse than what I've typically seen with this. So now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with this area. Now I'm going to come down here to the doors, and as far as those doors go, you're just going to give those a pull. You're going to swing those around. You're going to clear this piece right here, and then you're going to swing them out and lift that window up very tight on this side on my copy. And then you're just going to put the doors approximately where they need to be. You're not ready to close those doors or do anything else with them yet. So same thing, grab this, bring it around, swing it, swing that out, grab that window, open that window up, put the door approximately where it needs to be. All right, so I'm going to pull that back a little bit so you can see. You should have something that looks about like that. All right, so now what we'll do is we'll take these wheels. We're going to swing these wheels down, and then you'll notice these wheels don't fit all the way until you move this up to give you the clearance, and then they'll fall right into these slots right there. Okay, so now as far as I'm concerned, we have a majority of the upper portion done. So now we're going to turn our attention to these legs down here. So I'm going to do a quick camera adjustment so I can lay this guy down, and then we can talk about those legs. All right, so as far as the legs go, first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to turn this leg 180 degrees right up here, not at the thigh, but just above that knee. So turn that 180 degrees. And on this leg, I'm going to grab this foot. I'm going to pull it away. I'm going to grab this panel right here. I'm going to lift that panel up. And this is where that panel is going to live. You don't do anything else with this panel except what you're seeing right here. I'm going to grab this panel, pull that panel out. I'm going to grab this tire, pull that tire out, and then I'm going to take this little guy right here, and I'm going to push on this until it collapses. And it is tight. It may be tight on yours. I know it's definitely tight on mine. So once you have all this done, you'll notice you've got a slider right there. You're going to slide all that forward and collapse that leg. Once you've done that, you can close this panel back up, and then this tire right there, that tab will go right into that slot right there, and you've got that part complete. So now as far as the foot goes, take the heel spur, bring that heel spur down. You'll see that makes the rear of the tailgate, and then take that toe and flip that toe up just like that, and then you're going to push that in. So this was your before, this is your after, and you can see what you've done there. All right, so we're going to do the same thing to this leg over here. We're going to rotate that 180 degrees at that knee. We're going to lift the panel up, pull your foot away, lift or pull this back panel, pull this tire out of the way, collapse this piece very tight, and you see your slider, slide all this together, collapse your panel, take that tire or wheel, close that up, and then come down here to your foot. There's the bottom of your tailgate, and then there's your toe. Swing that toe in, and then collapse that. So now you have your two legs done, and then you have a peg and a port. So you have your peg, you have your port. Bring those legs together, close those up. Make sure your waist is oriented correctly. All right, so you should have something, if I lay it on its side, you should have something that looks like this. And now it's a matter of sliding all this together, or bringing it all together, I should say. So you're actually going to bring this up, and then this forward piece is actually going to, you're going to feel it, it's going to clip in like that, and then you're going to bring the rest of this forward. And as you do, be careful not to catch your doors on these side panels. So bring that in, bring those down. Try to keep all that from collapsing in on you. Start bringing all that together, and then what you have these slots right there, and then you have these tabs right in there, and you're going to line those up and collapse those in. Do that on both sides, and then close that up. All right, and we're almost home. Now really, this comes to the point where now you're going to do a lot of squeezing. And that's the part I really don't like, all the squeezing that's involved here, just to get him where he's looking like he's lined up properly. Well, let's go ahead and keep moving. So you're going to take your doors, you can push your doors in, and then you have these little pegs right there that are going to go into these ports right there. So you're going to just use your thumb, line all that up, get those lined up, and give those a push, and do the same thing over here. So get your doors kind of sort of lined up, give those a push, and now you're going to do a whole lot of squeezing just to get everything lined up. That door popped out, that's okay. Now I'm going to just do this. It sounds horrible, but it does help as far as getting everything lined up. Do the same thing over here. Give this a push up. Give that a push in. Give everything a squeeze. Squeeze, squeeze. Oh, I don't want to squeeze the hood yet because we've got one more step after that. All right, so that's about as good as you get it. I mean, you could probably get things squeezed just a little bit more, but I'm not going to waste our time in the transformation portion of this. This gets you about home. So the last few things that you're going to need to do is just get those mirrors out. So take your grill, if it didn't already come down, take your grill, push your grill down. Gives you enough of a gap to reach up here under your hood, and then you're going to take those mirrors and pull those mirrors out. So there's no real good area to grab the mirrors, so you just kind of use some friction and then get your finger underneath it if you can. Maybe. There we go. And then bring that hood down, and you do have this little tab right here that kind of slides underneath that hood. If you get it about approximately lined up, and then just give that a push and a snap. Be sure to remember to bring your grill up. And then you have Trailbreaker in his vehicle mode. And then you can play for an hour with him like I will to try to get all those panels aligned. So there you go. That is the transformation on Trailbreaker to get him into his alt mode. So yeah, once you get him into his alt mode, he looks pretty good. He's not perfect. He's got some panel gaps. He's got things that I'm just going to constantly fight. But he does capture the overall look of that Toyota Hilux truck. I think they've done a really good job here as far as that goes. Not a lot you can do with him in this mode. You can open and close the doors. You can put a figure in here if you want, but it doesn't look right. I'm not going to waste the time in the review to put the figure in there because it's just kind of stuffed in there. It doesn't look like he's actually driving, so I'm not going to bother with that. But you can do a couple of things here as far as putting his radar dish up here and changing that grill out. But I wanted to throw him on the turntable real quick just so you can get that unobstructed 360-degree view of the vehicle mode, which does turn out looking pretty good. And he's got a good amount of detail here. So let's go ahead and get that turntable out of the way, and then we're going to jump in and look at the close-ups on this guy. And we'll start right up here at the front with that grill. So this is the cartoon grill. Looks pretty good. Not a lot to talk about there, but it looks pretty good. You got that big Autobot symbol on the hood, and you can see with this high gloss, it's something that I think is worth mentioning. It's a really high gloss paint on this figure, so it shows fingerprints so easily. I mean, even the least little bit, you'll get a smudge and a smear. So you're going to spend a lot of time polishing this guy up just to keep the fingerprints off of him. But coming around to the side, you can see you have those indicator lights right there. You do have that Toyota all-wheel drive logo right there. You've got the nice door handle, little spot for the key. And coming on back, you've got that belt line that goes all the way across. Now, it doesn't quite line up perfectly, but it does a pretty decent job. You've got your gas cap, then, of course, those Trailbreaker stripes back there. Indicator lights there, tail lights. You can see his gun through the side, and you can get an idea there of the orientation that you're going to want. You do have a little bit of a gap right there. Coming around to the back, you have that Toyota logo. Everything comes together, looks pretty good there. And coming around over here to this side, it is an exact copy of the other side minus that gas cap. Wheels, tires look good. Now these are plastic, not rubber, but I think they've done a good job with them. I think there's a decent amount of detail. From the top, he looks good. From the bottom, I'm going to show you something that bugs me. I just can't get over it. The bottom comes together pretty good here. I've got a little misalignment there with my hip skirt. Doesn't really hurt anything, but I can probably get it down. There you go. So from the bottom, he looks pretty good. Everything hides away pretty well, but I'm really bothered by this. There's just nothing that holds those in. So the door will clip in. It has that little spot. I may regret doing this, but I'm going to show you anyway. It has that port and peg right there, but there's nothing that holds the side panel in. So when you plug your door in, you just have some squish. It's just part of it. I'm not really a big fan of that. So it's not awful. It's just when I'm paying for a masterpiece figure at that price point, I expect something better than that. All right, so good detail there. Now let's go ahead and pop the hood because the hood's worth seeing as well. So take your grill and bring your grill down. Get it out of your way. So you've got a little bit of a gap right there, and then get your thumbnail underneath that, and then pop your hood, and you can see that they've got a pretty decent amount of detail on there. So you can see your breather cover right there, and what looks to be maybe, I don't know, some kind of a cap, and some red wires over there. So good attention to detail as far as that goes. That's the detail up under the hood, so you can see those support beams for the hood as well. And if you don't like the look with the mirrors, you can just tuck your mirrors away and then bring that hood back down, and then you've got a nice streamlined Trailbreaker without mirrors. That's up to you. While we have the hood open, let's go ahead and change the grill out. I'm going to bring those mirrors back out. They are a little difficult to grab. All right, so let's leave that hood open, and then what we're going to do to change the grill, all you're going to do is pull on it, and then that's going to pop right off. So now it looks like he's been in an accident, and then we'll just take that grill, put it off to the side, and we'll bring in the vehicle accurate grill for the Toyota Hilux. So plenty of chrome on there, nice headlight areas right there. And take that, line them up, plug them in, give it a push. We're going to close that hood up, and then we'll slide that grill up. And there you go. Changes the look of him. So there was your, where'd it go? There is your before and your after. So yeah, really cool. I'm not entirely sure which one I like better. I do like the vehicle accurate mode, but the cartoon mode is kind of a favorite of mine as well. So I don't know. I guess the options are good. I'll just keep swapping them out. So there you go. That's how he looks. Now, you do get one more thing that you can do in vehicle mode here with the Trailbreaker, and that is you can put his parabolic antenna, radar dish, whatever you want to call it, put that up here on the top. This is where it is definitely an improvement over the Fans Toys Outrider, because the Fans Toys Outrider, in order to put this on, you basically have to untransform him in order to get access to flip this piece around. But with Trailbreaker right here, you don't have to do any of that. You're just going to grab this, you're going to flip it up, and you're going to see all that detail in there anyway, which is nice. And then you're going to take that parabolic antenna and you're going to plug it in right there, and now you're good to go. So you do have the ability to rotate the dish right there. You can't tilt it up, tilt it down, but you do have that rotation capability. So yeah, he looks pretty cool. I do like what you can do as far as that goes. So I think details are pretty good in the vehicle mode. It is very vehicle accurate. I'm just bothered by the gaps and the panel lines, and unfortunately that gloss just shows fingernails or fingerprints so easily. But other than that, I think he looks pretty good. He definitely accurately represents a Toyota Hilux. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead. We'll do some comparisons while we've got him in his alt mode and see how he looks compared to some other vehicles out there. For our first alt mode comparison, I unfortunately do not have my G1 Trailbreaker anymore. It's gotten lost somewhere over the years. So as a substitution, I'm bringing in my G1 Sea Spray, because why not? Next up is a fellow Masterpiece figure. This is the Masterpiece Inferno. For a Trailbreaker on Trailbreaker comparison, this is the Voyager class Trailbreaker figure from the War for Cybertron series. And for our final comparison, this is the Fans Toys Outrider. This is obviously their take on a Masterpiece scaled Trailbreaker. And both of these figures have their positives, both of these figures have their negatives. I'm just simply presenting these two as the comparison. I will say that there's a ton more die-cast in this figure than there is in this figure, but you definitely have the licensing here. You know, the official Transformer with the official Toyota versus, you know, he's supposed to be Trailbreaker with a nondescript truck mode, although it looks really good. So we'll get a couple different angles on these guys. You can see they both have their parabolic antenna or their radar dishes, whatever you want to call them. But we'll get a couple different angles on these guys so you can get a sense of scale and a true apples to apples comparison. Here they are facing each other head to head. Here we see them in a rear 3/4 view. Here they are both driving away from us. Here's another 3/4 rear view from the other side. Here they are back to back. This is the 3/4 front view. Here we see them coming right at you, threatening to run you over. I can't believe they're both actually flat enough on the back to pull this off, but yeah, here we are with a top view so you can see that overall length. And for our final view, here they are from underneath, and even in this view, they look a lot like each other. Alright, that's going to do it for the alt mode comparisons. Let's get him transformed back into his bot mode and we'll take a look at him from there here for you. So let's go ahead and get started. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and take the parabolic antenna off and then fold this little flap down right there. After you've done that, you're just going to come here to the front. You're going to take this grill and you're going to drop this grill down. Just open it up like that. That's going to let you open up the hood. And now you're going to fold those mirrors in, those two areas right there. So just take those mirrors, fold them in, and then you can take the hood, put that hood back down. Now you're going to come over here, you're going to open these doors. And that's just going to separate this stuff. And then you're going to come right here. The easiest way that I've found is you have these little gaps right here. You can just get your thumbnail right under there and you're going to pry that apart right there. And do the same thing over here. Once you have these pried apart, make sure that you keep them spread. And then pull up on this a little bit. And now you're going to take this entire cab and you're going to lift that up. So you should have something that looks like that. So I'm going to ignore this up here for now, and then I'm going to take care of these legs. That way if I need to stand him up, I'm going to be able to do so. So my grill came off, not too worried about it. The grill can pop right back on. So I'm going to take those legs, I'm going to split them. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. I'll start over here on this leg. I'm just going to take this foot. I'm going to bring that toe down, and I'm just going to bring that foot down out of my way. Take this bottom flap right here. That becomes his heel. Take that out. Grab your wheel right there. Pull that wheel. Just leave it sit there for a moment. Then you've got this back panel right here. You're going to lift that back panel up. And then come right here. You've got this little spot. This is the piece that you push down when you turn him into his truck mode. And you're going to pull on this, and it's tight. You're going to pull on it till it snaps and is flush. So you've got that. And now this entire assembly right here is on that slide. So you're going to give this a pull. And you're going to pull that down. That extends that leg out. And then now you're going to take this flap right here. Well, before you put that flap, go ahead and put your tire in. Now you're going to take this and you're going to bring that panel down, and then you can take this panel and bring that down as well. Now, one thing that I've learned is if this doesn't sit flush, if you've got a little bit of a gap or it's raised or doesn't feel like it's sitting quite right, double check and make sure you've got this pulled all the way down. All right, so you've got one leg done. Last step we're going to do is right here just above the knee is turn that around 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and do the same thing over here. So we're going to take that foot, bring that foot down, bring that toe down, bring that heel flap out, bring that tire out, drop this panel right there, reach up under here, pull this, and slide this out. Bring that wheel, tuck that wheel away, bring this panel down, and bring this piece down. So you can see I've got a little bit of a raised area right there, so I just need to make sure that I have everything pulled and in the right position. So give that a pull. There we go. Yep. Okay. Helps if I actually put that panel down first. There we go. And then now I'm nice and flush. All right, and come over here, take this and rotate it 180 degrees. So now we have the legs completed. Now all we have to do is concentrate on working on the upper body up here. So in doing so, you're going to take these tires right here. You're going to flip those tires in. After you do that, go ahead and work on these doors. So these doors, you have, let's see if we can find the best way to show you. Right in this area right here, these are sitting on a little bit of a slide. So what I've discovered is to get these tucked away properly, you make sure that you've got this pulled out all the way, and you can feel a little click when you do it. So I don't know if you could hear that, but that's that little click, and now you can see I have a gap right there in that oval area, that slotted area. So now I'm going to take the window, I'm going to fold my window in, and now I need to get this door around this piece. So I'm going to start bringing it in, I'm going to flip it up, rotate it around, and bring it in. And now if you look right in here, you have a little slot right there, and then you've got this rib right there that you're going to line those up. So you're going to bring this door down, and then you're going to tuck that away right in there, and it's going to sit just like that. All right, we'll do the same thing over here on this door. So grab this, feel the click, and then fold your window up, raise this up, bring this around. I'll change my view here so you can see. You have that slot, you have that rib, and then you're going to bring this down and line that up and tuck that away right there. All right, now that we've done that, now we have this area right in here. So you see how your windshield is just kind of where it's supposed to be, but you have this slide assembly right here. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to give this a wiggle until your windshield comes loose, and then that's going to allow you to slide this entire thing right here down and bring that slide assembly down. And then if we turn around and take a look, you'll see what it did. Basically it tucked that windshield down into what eventually will be his torso, or his, what I like to call his beer belly. All right, so once you've done that, now you can turn your attention. I may adjust my camera here, hold on, bear with me. Actually, you know what? I think I can get away with it like this. Yeah, I can get away with it like this. So now you're going to turn your attention to all this up here. Now you'll notice just in the process of handling, some of this stuff has come loose, but what I'm going to do primarily is I'm going to take this piece right here, I'm going to lift that up. And when I lift that up, as you can see, this fell down. which is totally fine, which is what I want them to do, but I want them to tilt backwards this direction. So these are going to get in your way with gravity. It's just part of the deal. They're just sitting very loose just because they're on these sliders right in here. So they're just going to keep getting in your way. So just do your best to bear with them. But this is going to give me access to my arms now. So now I'm going to get this gun out of my way. I'm going to get this little force field generator out of my way. And now I can take these arms and I can just bring them down like this. And then I'm going to raise them up so they're oriented like that. All right. Now that we have that completed, we're going to sneak these, the force field generator and that gun, we're going to sneak them around 180 degrees. But before we do that, we're going to take this head and we're going to get the head where it belongs. Don't want to forget about the head, so you can see he's just sitting there smiling at you. And what I've discovered is if you look on the back side here, you're going to basically push the head up through this hole right there. So let's go ahead and do that. Take your thumb and give that a gentle push. And then that's going to allow that head assembly to go through that hole right there. And then once you do that, I'm going to come over here. You can see it's on an axis right there. So let's go ahead and rotate that head around so it's sitting as it should. You can, if you want to right now, you can drop that head and plug it in, or you can wait until later. It's really up to you. It may come loose during the process of the completion of the transformation, but let's go ahead and just push the head in where it belongs, just like that for now. All right, so now we're going to get to work on the backpack. Let's get these things out of our way. Goodness, they flop around a lot. So you're going to take that weapon. The nice thing about this, the shoulder cannon right here, is it has a joint right there where it allows you to bend that at 90 degrees. So you can get that tucked around out of the way past the shoulder. And then this one, you don't need it. You just feed that through and get it to the other side. And in the course of doing that, I've knocked this loose, but that's all right. We'll get to it later. He's just a floppy mess right now. When you explode him like this, he just flops around like crazy. All right, so now what we're going to do back here, when he's in his vehicle mode, this back area, if I can get it there, this back area is flat, like this. What we're going to need to get it is where it's sitting with kind of a tent or a peak right there in the middle. So in order to accomplish that, we're going to do a couple things. Number one, we're going to take these tail light pieces and we're going to fold those in like that. Let's go ahead and do this side as well. And then you have the insides of the quarter panels fold down perpendicular. All right, so let's go ahead and do that over here. Pull that down. You have those sitting like that. And now you notice, as we said before, this is on a slide. So what you're going to do now is you have these slots right here that are going to correspond to these, if I can give you a good view of them, these tabs right there. So you've got a tab right there and a tab right there. So now what you're going to do, you're going to make sure that you've got this open and this rear window is sitting on a double hinge. You're actually going to just bring that down on that double hinge and collapse that inside like that. What that's going to allow you to do is line up those tabs and slots. So you're going to plug that in, do the same thing over here, plug that in, give them a good squeeze. Now on mine, this side plugs in nice and tight. This side I'm left with a gap. I don't know if it's just a tolerance issue, but I'm just left with a gap there. There's not a whole lot that I can do about it. But what you've done, and if you notice now, you have that peak. So let's go ahead and lift this piece up. And that way we can bring that piece down, and then you can see that peak that you're going to have in his backpack. Instead of being flat across, he's got a bit of that peak. All right, now on these, you see these two little guys right here with the holes in them. They're going to slide through these two slots right there. So those two slots are right there behind the head. So there's a little bit of magic that you got to do here, just magic handling, I guess, where you want to feed those through and get them start to get them fed through. And then you've got this main piece right here that's got this big tab, and then it goes into this big slot, and that's where your body locks in. So let's go ahead and do that now. We'll open those legs up a little bit because I'm going to put my thumb right there. I'm going to put my forefinger right here, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to squeeze that down. All right, so you can kind of see where this is going. Now, the tricky part, especially if you have larger fingers, is getting your fingers in here with enough room to force those tabs through. So sometimes it helps if you can kind of get them started to line up. I'm taking my middle finger, I'm getting those fed through, and they don't snap. It's just simply a matter of getting them started. So you've got them in a good spot right there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come down here. You have these slots, you have these tabs, and then you've got this little snap area right here. So what I do is I put my finger here, my thumb and my middle finger on the hips like that, and then I hold nice and tight right here, and I bring this down, and then I'm going to push these together, and that's going to lock all this into place. And then once you've got all that locked into place, he should be sitting pretty. So I like to keep this piece open back there. All right, so now if you get him here, if you've done it properly, he's going to be tight. Nothing should flop around, nothing should be loose. Okay, so if you've got some stuff that's loose, something isn't locked in all the way. So just double check all that and make sure you've got everything tabbed in properly. But once you've got him here, he should be nice and tight. All right, so let me do a quick camera adjustment to bring him up since he's a little bit taller now. All right, so now what we can do is we'll go ahead and we'll work on his weapons here. So you're just going to take that force field generator and you're going to rotate that 90 degrees. And then for this shoulder mounted cannon right here, you're going to, this is split open, so there's a hinge right there in the middle. So you're going to rotate that, and then you're going to collapse that gun together. All right, so you have that done. Make sure to straighten that out. I mean, I guess if you want to shoot at an angle, you could, but just make sure you straighten that out. All right, squeeze all that together. And now we're left with the arms. So while you have the arms in this position, while they're straight and while you have easy access, open those panels up and then go ahead and bring his nozzle out, collapse that panel. You can then pull on this, extend those out, rotate them 180 degrees, and then you've got one arm complete. So do the same thing over here. Open that panel up, take that fist, bring the fist out, close the panel, extend it, rotate 180, and then you have his fist done. So the only thing that we have left is just where his grill came off. Just no big deal. I probably just didn't have it secured in there all the way. So you just take the grill and pop the grill back on, and then you're good to go. You have sideswipe. Where did I come up with that? You have Trailbreaker complete in his bot mode, and I think he looks pretty good. For our first bot mode comparison, unfortunately, I no longer have my G1 Trailbreaker. I don't know where he is. He's just lost to time somewhere. So I do have a G1 Sea Spray that has agreed to come in and be our volunteer for a G1 comparison, so you can get an idea of the masterpiece scale next to some of those old G1 bots. Moving on to our next comparison, here you see the Transformers War for Cybertron Voyager class Trailbreaker next to that masterpiece. For a masterpiece scale comparison, here we see a couple of the hose hand buddies. This is MP33 Masterpiece Inferno, and these two guys, I think they scale up together pretty well. They look good together. For another masterpiece scale comparison, here we see Trailbreaker next to the Masterpiece MP10 Optimus Prime. And for our final robot mode comparison, it is a battle of the Trailbreakers. So on the left, of course, is that Masterpiece Trailbreaker, and on the right is the Fans Toys Outrider. So that's their take on that Masterpiece Trailbreaker. And as I stated in the alt mode comparisons, they both have their strengths, they both have their weaknesses, but just to give you a sense of comparison here, what these two guys look like, I think there are a few areas where Fans Toys is more refined, kind of gives you a cleaner look in that bot mode, but I don't know if I'm 100% bought in on the colors. Fans Toys also uses a heck of a lot more die cast, so if you guys were to pick these two figures up, he is probably 3 to 4 times as heavy as this Trailbreaker figure is over here. Not a knock or a ding on the quality in any way, just simply stating there's a lot more die cast in this figure. But yeah, I think they look pretty good. I think for an overall what I expect from the cartoons, I'm going to give the Masterpiece the edge here as far as that look goes, but this is definitely a wonderful figure. Let's go ahead and take a look at him from the back as well. So there you see them from the back. A lot of similarities there. I think that Outrider has less of a backpack overall, but I think that Trailbreaker captures the look again a little bit better. I think he's not quite as refined or polished as the Fans Toys version in the back, but I still think he's a fine figure. Here they are from the side in that profile view, and you can see, you quite literally can see through the Masterpiece Trailbreaker there. So the Fans Toys is a little bit more solid. Looks a little more slim down through the torso as well. Here they are back to back, and from a height standpoint, they're really close. So the Masterpiece Trailbreaker may look just a tad shorter, but I have his knees bent a little bit more, whereas he's very straight-legged over here in the Fans Toys version. I will say I'm going to give the edge to the Masterpiece figure here for having bigger feet and having those heel spurs. It helps with the stability, especially when it comes to the weight on the Fans Toys Outrider. So a little bit better stability in the Masterpiece version versus that Fans Toys version. And that's going to do it for the bot mode comparisons, so let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. So there you have the Masterpiece MP56 Trailbreaker, and I think that despite some of his flaws and minor quality issues, I think this is still a figure that is worthy of that Masterpiece name. Let's go ahead and jump into it. We'll start with the overall looks, the aesthetics of the figure. I'll start by saying that this is the Trailbreaker I remember. Both of his modes look, in my opinion, they look toon accurate. He looks good in his bot mode. He looks good in his vehicle mode. You also have that added bonus in the vehicle mode of being able to swap those grills out and either have that cartoon accurate grill or have the vehicle accurate grill. So he accurately represents that Toyota Hilux pickup truck that he's based on. So I think that's done very well. He's not perfect by any means. There are a few gripes that I do have. This one may sound kind of petty, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Especially in his vehicle mode, his paint, his surfaces, they're so glossy. They pick up any kind of smudges, smears, fingerprints, anything like that. So I feel like I'm going to be constantly wiping this guy down just to keep the smudges off of him. I guess it could be worse, but it is one of those things where I almost feel like I should be wearing white gloves when I handle this guy. He does have that hollow upper chest area, so as he swings back around, we'll see it. But just in that chest area right there, you can literally see all the way through him. And I think for a figure at the Masterpiece price point, I expect better engineering. There had to have been a panel, something that they could have done to fill that in, so you can't literally see right through the figure. So that was a little bit disappointing as well. And then in his alt mode, he's kind of plagued with panel lines and gaps in those panel lines and misalignments, particularly where the doors meet up with the rest of the body. There's just a misalignment there. That belt line that goes down the vehicle just doesn't line up no matter what you do. So in the alt mode, although the alt mode looks good, I feel like I'm constantly adjusting and squeezing and doing this and doing that to try to get everything lined up. So that can be a little distracting as well. But overall, the overall actual looks of this guy is pretty good. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. Moving on to his articulation, this is probably one of his strongest points. I was surprised by the amount of articulation that was in this figure. He's done really well everywhere. My biggest complaint is I wanted more out of that head. If I could have him look up a little bit more and do those quizzical side-to-side kind of looks. He's just got that ball joint in there, so they had the capability. It's simply just the geometry of the head. The head just runs into the shoulders or the upper chest, so you can't get a lot out of him as far as looking up. So that's a little bit limiting. Everything else is done really well, though. He's even got an ab crunch. So awesome job with that. I love the fact that he comes with an ab crunch. The head is just my biggest issue. From a wish list standpoint, I would have liked to have had him had individually articulated fingers instead of that thumb and the index finger independent and then the other three together. So if they could have done something a little bit different there, that would have been nice. But articulation is done really well. I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. Moving on to the accessories. Again, a really strong point for this figure. He comes loaded with all kinds of good stuff, and it's all stuff that is really based for Trailbreaker, so it works really well. I mean, you get a couple of extra faces. you've got the ability to swap the grills. You've got the multi-head nozzle. You've got his parabolic antenna or radar dish, if you want to call it that. You've got his other nozzle. You've got, both hands that you could use. A couple different faces. He comes with stickers. So he's just loaded with all the right stuff as far as accessories go. So really happy with that. If I had to pick, I would say we need more effects parts, because this thing's really cool, but he's got so many other places to put it. If we could have at least gotten maybe one more, even two, I think that would have been able to let him have a perfect score on this one. But as it stands right now, I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 on accessories. Now, moving on to the overall quality, one of his weakest points. I'm really disappointed in all the misalignments and the gaps in his alt mode. He's just, it's distracting, and I feel like I'm constantly adjusting. I think that they've just got some tolerance issues there, some stuff that maybe on the design end wasn't quite completely thought out. There were just some things that maybe looked good in the CAD model, but when they produced them, they just didn't work as they should. You've got that flex when you look from the underside, the flex on the doors that I showed you. Just little things like that. Just kind of disappointing as far as that goes. And then for the chrome pieces themselves, every one of these chrome pieces has the sprue exposed. So the part where they injected the plastic to make the piece, and then there was the chrome plating. So every single one of them has some type of imperfection. You can see it right there in the multi-head nozzle as it's coming by. Really? Come on, man. This is masterpiece scale. They shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. So disappointed in that. I think the design was 95% there, but that other 5% I think was done poorly. And then you've just got those tolerance issues. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 for quality. Moving on to overall value. This was a pre-order item. I picked it up from tfsource.com. I paid $153 for it. That is kind of on par with masterpiece scale figures. So that's not what I have an issue with. What I have an issue with is paying that type of money and having some of the quality issues that we're having here. That going back to the design, that transformation is just a little bit of a pain in the butt. It takes away some of the joy. Trying to get this gun tucked away where it should be so he'll transform properly into his alt mode. Little things like that just take away, and it just nibbles away at that overall feeling of value. Like, did I get a lot for my money? So I'm not the biggest fan of the price point compared to what we got here, so I'm going to ding him a little bit on that. I think he's worthy of that masterpiece name, but I do think that he would have been a little bit better off, closer to that maybe $125 price point. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 for overall value. So that brings us to our final total. Out of a possible 50 points, Masterpiece Trailbreaker gets 40 out of 50, which puts him at 80%. It's not a bad score whatsoever. He's just got some quality issues that I think they really should have taken care of before they put this guy into mass production. So I'm going to give this a recommendation. I think he's going to look good on your shelf. I think anybody out there who enjoys the Masterpiece line is going to really enjoy this guy, have a good time with him. He's just got little issues here and there, but I still think he's worthy of being picked up. So with that, that's going to wrap the review up. I hope you guys got some good information. I hope you found some entertainment out of this. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment if you feel like it. And if you think that our videos or this channel is anything that others would enjoy, please feel free to share that information with others. We love seeing the base grow. I love getting all that feedback from everybody. So until we see you guys in the next review, take care.